high LED technology screens. I swear, every time I turn that screen down over there for him, it just seems to turn itself back up. I don't know what's going on with that monitor over there. I can't wait till we get rid of that thing and put in his screen at the end of the day. But I swear I turn that thing down, and I swear it turns itself back up. Because it was not that loud. Anyway, hold on for a minute. Let's put something on there. Snowfall, screensavers. He's in the snowfalls now. Look at the snowfalls in front. Jeez, I swear. Anyway, so we got several large projects. No more screen paint. We're done with that. We got our final screen paint. We're done. But we have so now in the process of changing everything over because I want clients to come in and again, cardboard boxes are nice. It did the job it's supposed to do, but I need something with a more professional look to it. And I have, built multiple different types of screens in my past. So I definitely want to put this thing together. I might do levitating. I might do a levitating stand with it when I get done. When I finish the build, it's going to hang on the wall. But I think what I'm going to do is later on, I'm probably going to design a levitating stand for it, which is pretty cool. I should design one of those. A levitating stand. As a matter of fact, we'll build a prototype version of levitating stands to show you how to do this. You don't need to touch the ceiling, nothing whatsoever, and the screen has this levitation look to it. So right now, the screen size we have is going to be way bigger than what I intended because I do want something big. We got this nice big wall here. Might as well do something with it. Also, too, now as for what we have in here, I'm still bagging stuff up and getting stuff ready. There's also another place I'm going to be taking stuff at on Saturday with a friend of mine. And we're going to get the rest of this stuff because we start building most likely, let's see, if I reach out to him, then most likely be on Friday. Because Saturday's the best time to reach this guy. So, man, that crunches right into my time. We got to figure out where to put this stuff at for the time being while we put the other screen in. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pick up the rest of the tape. I need to bind the rest of this stuff. And then I'm going to put this stuff here. Yeah, I'm going to put that stuff over here. So that way I can get ready to put my screen in. I definitely want my screen. Nothing's going on this wall at all, period. But I definitely want to put something over here. I'm going to put this stuff over here. I think that's what I'm going to do. That's much easier for me to do. Definitely much easier. Let me take my projector and put it here. There. I have to put my screen in because I'm not ordering my parts from my screen. I'm going to Home Depot to pick up my parts. And I go to Home Depot because I can get my stuff right there on the spot. The other stuff for the PC, we have to order all that wood in from Amazon. Put those together. So those are roughly going to take, if it's going to happen on you got to go Saturday. We're going to pick up from Home Depot. So if I have to go down, order on Friday, most likely I'm going to have the parts for the PC roughly Monday, probably Monday I'm going to have all the parts for the PC. So we'll have to wait to build that. But the screen we can build right away. No, we still can't build the screen. We can build a frame system for the screen. We can't build the screen because we have to go order that surface. And I am going to need a staple gun. Where's Home Depot? I got Home Depot in there somewhere. Here we go, Home Depot. So basically, this is how we're building it. So my screen's a little different. Mine's a 235.1, but it's customized 235.1, which means it does two screens in one time. I learned how to do these a long time ago. If you do a strictly 235.1, there's a lot of content you cannot play. A 235.1 setup, a 239.1 is what you call dedication. That's a dedicated setup, a true dedicated setup. And people think, okay, if you got a movie theater set up, you have a screen in a dedicated theater room, That is dedicated. I built one of those before, but true dedicated setup is 235.1 or 239.1, any one of those aspect ratios, due to the fact that that particular aspect ratio is what's the word for it? It's you can't play a lot of content on it. A lot of content is not in 235.1. Majority of all games and stuff like that are at 16:9 format. But I like the 235.1 because you get that really true widescreen experience. So people think 16:9 is really widescreen experience. 16:9 is not widescreen. It would be 16:10 would be considered to be widescreen, but true widescreen would be in the 239.1 category. So what we're going to do is we go over here and our screen's set up here. First things first, you want to get your projector, and you definitely want to measure your distance from the wall from where your projector is going to be at. If your area is shorter, you go with short throw. That's what you want to go with. And if you're long throw, I prefer using short throw due to the fact that I don't have to worry about my head popping up on the screen. That's what I like about them. I don't want anything behind me. So let me see. So roughly here to where my stand's going to be, my screen's going to be at, I got about 7 feet. So we got 7 feet from the wall to the, we're going to have the projector down here, from the wall to down there. So that's 7 feet. We got 7 feet of room to play with on the, what's the projector we have right here? Right there. That's what we're going to be buying. We're buying a projector like this. So this right here, this is, I had one of these before. This is a ViewSonic. This ViewSonic projector has a 235.1 setting. This will allow me to be able, and I'm still under my $200 mark. This will allow me to be able to be able to produce that massive screen size and be in short throw. So what you want to do is take the model number of your projector here. Copy this. Bring it over here and hit projector central, and then you want to do is come to the top here where it says search, and you want to put the model number of the projector or your projector, even though if you're thinking about buying it, put it there, and then you hit for your search for them to find it, and you go in, you'll see a list right here. You want to look for projector specifications, which will be at the top, most likely top or bottom, somewhere in there, and then your projector will be here. As you start to scroll down, you see all your specifications on your projector. Keep going, and then right here you'll see something called calculation throw distance. Hit that. I'm going to be putting this on this link on my how-to page. I think we may be changing that domain name. I want it more easier for people to find it. So we're going to put down our easy builds on there, and this will give people, show people how to put stuff together. Now in here, this is where you can customize anything you want here. It's not as complicated, it's very easy. Never get intimidated by it, and this stuff is very simple. So if you got a special screen size you need, maybe 120 inch ain't there, maybe 130 inch there, maybe your size is not there and you have to build something custom, which we have to do right now because of our distance in the wall and everything. This is the best place to do it. So your aspect ratio is here. Image size is going to be here. What you want to go down, see this little image right here, this little setup right over there. This is going to give you your height of your screen. That's going to be your height right there. This is going to be the length of your screen. That's the actual size of your screen, and that's the distance between your screen and the floor, which I think the only time I had to bother with this is when I did the dedicated theater room. We had to do a distance from the screen to the floor depending on how high the seats sit up. That's a whole section by itself. If you're doing a sitting area, you're building at the platform that goes from from lower to higher, yeah, that's a lot of freaking math. It is. It's calculations like crazy. You're definitely going to have to watch that one right there. And this is your projector. This is your distance throw. So we got 7 feet back till we hit the wall. 7 feet on the ultra short throw. Bring it all the way up here. 7 feet. So roughly 7 feet. Well, I'll say 7 feet some change. There we go, so it's going to change. That's going to be at 200. That's the size of your screen because they're measured this way. That's a 204 inch screen. We're going to get from 7 feet or 7.1 due to the fact that we're using a short throw projector. That's why we use the short throws in here. better to use. On top of that, I don't have the projector behind me smacking me in the back of the head. There's no way in the world from the distance we're at right here, we're going to be able to fill the screen that's 5 feet by 10 feet. It's not going to happen. We don't have the room for it. So that's why you have to go with a short throw projector for this one. Now, our screen is different because now you got to figure out our screen being 5 feet by 10 feet. It's not a normal size screen because usually if you're doing 5 feet by 10 feet, that screen's going to be 7 feet tall by 10 feet. That's roughly 150 inch screen. 120 inch screen, 120 is going to be 5 feet by 9 feet. So you have to go in there and figure out what your aspect ratio is going to be. This is how we build 16:10 screens. So you want to see 16:10 on your projector and like, what the heck is that for? This is how you build a 16:10. They have odd, strange numbers next to them. 127, 129. These are 16:10 screens. Well, that's my cell phone. I don't want to move. All right, so as you go down here, our aspect ratio, we're at 235.1 because that's what the ViewSonics do, 235.1. So you don't see it here. You got to go to custom. When you go to custom, they got it 239.1, but we got it 235.1. So we're going to take that out, edit it, remove that, and put a 5 in instead. And then what you do is right here, you have an anamorphic lens. That's what you have. Click on that, hit this. And then now you have the measurements for 235.1. All you got to do is go to Home Depot. If you ain't got the wood, have them cut it there. Cut it yourself. Exact measurements. That's the size screen we're going to get. 204 inches at 7.1 feet from the screen. So always measure your distance from where your screen is at. Here, this determines what type of projector. I tell you, before you go rush on buy a projector, some people go and buy a long throw and realize they don't have the room for long throw, and they end up building this giant screen, and the screen comes up, the little image in the middle of the screen, and you got to make sure you do your measurements. So that's all you do. Measure your distance first from your wall. That determines whether you need ultra short throw, whether you want short throw, or whether you want long throw. And then come here and put in the model number of your projector there. And then you'll get down to screen calculation, and this will give you all the information you need. So now, our screen would have to be 80 inches. You can measure from 80 inches. But I like to do customization, which means that we can actually get this screen to fit in here without we can manipulate a little bit. I'll show you how to do that in order to get something to fit this way, because I build a lot of weird customized strange screens at the end of the day. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all you need right there. And as you move it up, this shows you your distance as you're moving it up, and that shows you right there your measurements. Now from what I've got from the wall, I'm not worried about, usually when you're looking at your wall, if your wall has that length to it, then length ain't something you got to worry about. Height, you should never have to worry about height, because due to the fact that your most average ceiling is going to be 8.5 feet tall. So as you're building something really huge in there, that's it. That's why when we get customers and customers order from us, that when they're talking about their screen size, and the biggest screens we see going, the majority of most homes, 120 inch. Some people have 150 inches. Mostly their outdoor screens are much bigger screens, but mostly they're 120 inches going to be inside. Now, the average screen for a home goer, it's 100 inches. It's a 4 feet by 7 feet screen. It's a big screen. It's not a laptop, it's already a big screen. So that's a good size screen right there. That's the average right there. All right, so let me see. If we're doing 71 is roughly, let's see, 60 inches is 5 feet. 71 is roughly almost 6 feet for the screen. We want to do 5 feet. So I got to do 5 feet by 10 feet on mine. That's why we're going with the 235.1. Now, if you figure your screen's going to, way to get your screen to fit in there, you just bring the screen up. You can bring the zoom down on your screen. Some people bring the zoom down so it's smaller, so when they push it up to the screen, it expands to the size of the screen, and that way you're at a shorter distance, where you're also able to fill the screen out. If you put the zoom all the way up to the size it's supposed to be, either way you're going to overlap your screen. So you push the zoom in, and then you push near the screen, and then you get the size that you want, because the zoom is actually pushed down. That's a way to fit it just right in there. So we're going to build a customized stand for this, a wood system, which now we have a new blueprint for all our designs, PC cases, anything we want out of this new wood system that our Lord has blessed us to be able to do now, and much more sufficient. Another thing too, I know is temperature change. I know it's huge, massive temperature change. So cardboard is nice and all, but it's insulation. I keep forgetting. That's what we use for the garage. We insulated the garage with cardboard, and we used the whatchamacallit. And for those people saying, what about mold? No, no, this cardboard was all sprayed. We sprayed everything in there. That's how I was able to pass the inspection. That garage passed inspection from Sony. That's how good of a job we did in there. That's how amazing God is. At the end of the day, if you're going to tell me that God's knowledge is not correct, then you wouldn't be here if his knowledge wasn't correct. I mean, there'd be something wrong. Your body wouldn't even function correctly. You wouldn't be able to breathe, whatever. You're a perfect machine designed by God. So none of this, anything, nothing would work here. Nothing. If he made flaws or mistakes as we do. Let me see. I get into these conversations every once in a while where someone will sit there and say, well, there is mistakes. No, no, no. That's not God's mistake. That's our mistake. We messed up. Remember, we used to be perfect. We were actually perfect beings. We had immortality. We had this amazing, intelligent level. And then the animals didn't murder each other either. None of that stuff was on the earth. There was no death, destruction, disease, jealousy, hatred. It didn't exist until ate from the tree of life. And that's how all this triggered. So all this stuff that we have now on the earth is us. We did all this. Could have had that life, but, you know, it wasn't enough for us. We needed more. So why I get into these discussions with women mostly about this topic, because there was one, they're the ones that initiated the charge on all of it. We just followed in with the charge. That's our problem. We followed in. Right? If that's why I get women get very upset with me, and they'll say, "Well, you don't know what you're doing." It's in the Bible. I'm not lying about it. No one's. They get on this. They get on this term. They get upset with me because they think I'm blaming them. No, were you there to eat from the apple? Or no, sorry, it doesn't particularly say what fruit it was. Man says it's apple. It says fruit. Were you there to eat from the fruit? No. But they're mad because it was a woman that did it. But technically, we're going to be truthful about this. Come on, you're going to be 100% Christian. You got to accept it. All right, don't get mad at me. They have to get mad at me and angry at me, and they call me this and call me that. It's in the Bible, for goodness sakes. The woman ate first. The devil was the one that got her to persuade to eat from the tree. It wasn't the male. It was the woman who did it. Now, we're not pointing fingers on blame at the end of the day because we're all cursed at the end of the day. Let's deal with it and leave it at that. But that was the person who initiated first. And then she coached Adam, and Adam ate also, and he got cursed himself. That's why, if you look in the Bible, it clearly states that the woman got the worst part of the curse than the man did. It's right there. And then I get the flack back when they say that, well, women, no, technically, we were here first. The man was here first before the woman. If you look at in the Bible, it says that man has one less rib than a woman. We do. Get an x-ray. You'll find out you have one less rib than a woman. Why? Because your rib was taken from you, given to the woman to make her, and you're both made from the primal dust. That's how it is. But, you know, some women I've met have accepted it, and that's fantastic. That's a beautiful thing when you accept it. And some people won't accept it, which is sad. Because, again, it is God's word. I don't know how, and I'm confusing about Christians. If you want to call yourself a Christian, if you want to call yourself believing in God, then you have to believe in that all things that God does. That's what you have to do. I just want to put that in there. I like to talk about Jesus as much as I possibly can. Why not? But anyway, yeah. So this is how we build them right here. So my screen's a little interesting. My screen is going to be roughly, let me see, only be 6 feet, 5 feet's big enough. 5 feet's big enough in height. But because of my screen size being 10 feet by 5 feet, I can do a 235.1 in here easily. But if I want to do it at 16.9, I get a 120 inch screen, probably 122, 123, which is actually a pretty good size screen. And the best thing about black technology on 235.1, the advantage points, which a lot of people don't consider thinking about this one, fan's cooling me off too much, is the fact that you don't get something called the zebra effect. Now, we call it the zebra effect because gray screens, even gunmetal screens, because they're not 100% black, when you basically do a customization, unless you're getting an actual screen size at 235.1 or 239.1, but keep in mind, as I said before, a lot of the format is not made for those screens. You have to have special movies for them. Certain games may pay in 235.1, but it's not going to be everything. You'll be missing the heads, you'll be missing the bottom of the feet. We've done this before, and we talked about 235.1 setups. So in order for you to get around this, you would have to project another size screen within that screen that would basically be the format of what you're playing. So if you want a good size screen, because it'll be smaller, you want a good size screen, you're pretty much going to have to go with a larger 235.1 in order to get a good size screen. Roughly, if you get 100 inch in there, it's pretty cool. 120 inch is nice. But the problem you have, if you have a gray screen or a screen that's not black, what happens is you get something called the zebra effect, which means that any area that the projector's not hitting will definitely show gray. So now you got this gray border, black border around your screen, and you have a gray. That looks pretty tacky. That's why Silver Ticket? Yeah, Silver Ticket sells these curtains. They have these curtains that go from the bottom to the top, and that allows you to put this curtain system across and give you that black border. That's what you're going to be dealing with. So when people sit there and say, one of the factors when they talk about how gray screen, no, there's a lot of things gray screens will not be able to do. As they're expanding your screen size. You have a 100-inch motorized projection screen, you have a border there, you have a gray screen, you will have a border there. When you have black technology, we paint over that. We don't need that. What the heck we need it for? We can make a border any size we want. So we just turn that surface into a screen too also. So that means my screen gains an extra 8 inches. Any screen we buy that's 92 inches is now 100 inches when we get done with it because we don't require a border. It's a black screen. Now, when we're doing the 235.1, if I'm doing a gray screen, number one, we're not going to show up in here, so that's not going to happen. No matter what projector we use, the gray screen is not going to function. We're not going to pick up color, we're not going to pick up contrast, none of that. White screen is going to have the same fate too. None of that's going to read at all, period. And upgrading a white screen to a gray screen is not going to help me in here, as we showed you in demonstrations, and I can show you again. So, as I said before, it's not going to read in here. So, no one of the issues we're going to have with that. Now, next stage is the zebra effect. Because if I shrink the screen down to 120 inches, that means some of the gray is going to show, and now you're going to see this part gray and part black, and that's tacky. We need it to all blend into one screen, and that's where the black technology comes in, because people paint entire walls with their technology, and they can put in any aspect ratio that they want due to the fact that there's no gray showing. It throws the screen off. That's the problem when you're trying to watch a movie in cinema. A cinema movie is going to have what you call black bars from the top to the bottom. Black bars don't read on gray screens. Anybody willing to challenge me on that one in court? I don't care what company you are or who you are at the end of the day. Anybody willing to challenge me that a black screen doesn't read black cinema bars? How would that be possible if your screen's gray? That's one of the biggest lies I've ever seen in history. One of the biggest ones in history. How the freak are you reading cinema bars off a gray screen? Cinema bars are black, not gray. So that's another one. But as I said before, at that particular time, we didn't have any black screens. We didn't have any really dark gunmetal screens. You're still going to need a black screen either way. Forget the gunmetal. You're still going to need a black screen. We didn't have all that. That was considered to be acceptable. But there is black technology now. So why in the world are some of you people, I go to these forum sites, you got this beautiful setup, and you're trying to show this cinema view display, especially at 235.1, and you have this freaking gray bar running around the back of underneath your screen, or you have basically the cinema bars are gray. That's what people don't think about that. That's when the guy did the demonstration. I didn't mention the name of our videos, but the guy did the demonstration on some Batman screen was doing on top of someone's roof deck. Cinema bars were gray. They're supposed to be black. So we're going to do, when we do the 235 point in here, we're going to do a segment on the 235.1, why 235.1 doesn't work for gray. You'll see in the demonstration that when we shrink the screen up, and we'll basically put it at a 16:9 for 235.1 setting, you will see those little bars at the top and the bottom reflect, and you will see at the bottom, you will see gray pop up because the screen has enough black, but you also see the cinema bars don't read. That's why you can't use them. You don't use, gray screens, but that's at that particular time, that's what they use, but no, that doesn't work well. So if you're doing, let me see, let's go over here, and let's look at 2.35.1 projector screen. You guys should come up when I type this in. Like, really, if you've done these things already, because again, you have to remember, if you're doing projection screens for people who want to be in the field, you have to know all the aspect ratio sizes. Someone asks you one of these questions, what are you going to say to them? So you have to know these things. And people think it's just all going to be 16:9. You know, at times we had somebody request one of these screens before. Now you see the first one that pops up on this, on 235.1. We've done dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of screens. We know what we're talking about. You have to know these screens. So the first one that pops up, well, I've done so many of these screens, I literally forgot how many I've actually done. I've done so many of them. I've always wanted a 235.1 widescreen setting set up. I like them. Sorry. And I've always wanted one. But the problem is that the 235.1s are very expensive. I got to put that in the video too, because that's what we're actually building, 235.1. But the 235.1s at that particular time were very, very expensive. And this is what I mean by when you have people who come online and they talk about how they know screens, you don't. Because I don't see 235.1 builds in your category. You have to have these. Everything. Let's cover all of them. 16.9, 16.10. It's a 1 point. It's not 1.4. It's 15.9. You ever built a 15.9 screen? I have. See, there you go. And they get mad and frustrated and they leave out. And the reason why they leave out because again they don't know this stuff. You have to know all your aspect ratio. You can't just be up there saying you know screen paint. So, this is why people contact us when it comes down to 235.1 because this will be us. So, if you look here, you'll see right here the first one that comes up is our company. Sorry about my dirty monitor. See right there? That's 105-inch 235.1. We build these. Build them in all different types of sizes. I even built the fixed frame screens and built those too. You have to know what you're doing. Hey, look, at the end of the day, look, here's the thing. You can run off all you want, you can get mad at it, but it's you at the end that have to answer this question. I mean, a customer's going to answer this question. Company's going to answer this question. Running off ain't going to help you. You still got to answer the question. That's not going to change anything. That's like if you're in a classroom, you got a test to do, and you haven't done study for the test. Not showing up is not going to help you. You still got to know it. So that's 235.1. For those you don't know, we get people coming to the room, and they get very frustrated and very upset with us, and they leave because they get mad. And because they figure that at the end of the day, that, oh, it's another project right there. That's a 235.1. That at the end of the day, they feel like they're being prosecuted. Look, it's you, at the end of the day, you have to test your products, and you have to know screen size. If you don't know screen size, it's going to make it very hard for you to sell your product. Because you are going to bump into somebody who's going to have a 235.1. I bump into dozens of people who have these screens. But anyway, getting back to this one. This is a 147-inch 235.1. Yeah, they're big. They're big, big screens. They're very big screens. It's a long screen. So the height you have for it, you definitely have a height for 235.1. That's definitely, it's the length you're going to need for that screen. That's where that's where it comes in at. You're going to have to worry about the length. All right, so let's come over here. So these are our 235.1 builds we have in here. The biggest one I built was roughly around 178 inches, the biggest one I ever built. This is a 235.1. And it's funny because, like I said, when you try to, people who were trying to get the 235.1s, that lens is very, very expensive. Now, people try using something called a wide angle fish lens on a camera. Excuse me, that man. Wide angle fish lens on a camera. That same projector we have there, it's the same one we have, we're about to buy. A wide angle fish lens was one way you could do it. You could take that off the camera, you could do it that way. But the problem with that is that it was very hard to basically hook it up to the projector because it wasn't designed for it. Another problem you had with it was the fact that it just wasn't designed for a projector, and your edges would come out a little fuzzy, so it didn't work too well. There used to be a system that would sit in front of your projector and a lens that slide back and forth. They call it an anamorphic lens. Those were expensive. They were $1,400 lenses over on eBay. I remember when they came out, they had those. That's the only two options you literally had at that time. So I bought me a ViewSonic projector, and ViewSonic does not advertise this anywhere on any of their projectors, but they keep putting it in there. They never advertise and never talk about it. I don't know what that's all about, but just don't do it. So I was setting up for a 150-inch in that place right there, one of my places we rented out. And was going through the aspect ratio, because I was looking for 1610. I usually do 1610 in screens because they're bigger. I noticed that I saw a 235.1 pop up, and I'm like, wait a minute, 235.1. Mind, the projector I had was a 720p model. The 720p model, the WXGA, their projector's like $500 at the time. That's not a projector you put a 235.1 in. 235.1 is going to projectors at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000. You find them in there. And most $3,000 projectors won't have them. A certain type of projector has a 235.1 sitting in. So for a 235.1 to be sitting in a projector at $500 is extremely, extremely rare. So this one I'm sitting up there selecting through my category, and I'm saying 235, 235, 235. And my ex comes downstairs, what's wrong? I said, 235. There's a 235.1 in this freaking projector. How is there a 235.1? They never mentioned it. It's never mentioned anywhere about it. So this is where we start buying up all of these ViewSonic projectors. How many of these projectors have 235.1? The 4K versions, they got it. Anything under the 2017 models all have 235.1. Anything underneath that don't have them. So I went out and got the cheapest one they had. 600 by 800 720p SVGA projector had a 235.1 in it. Mine is 600 by 800 SVGA 720p had a 235.1 aspect ratio, which means the lens was an anamorphic lens in that projector, which is insane. On top of that, that projector has a 22, I think it's 22 to 1 contrast level. So it has you're looking at a projector that has a 22 to 1 contrast level in it at 600 by 800. That's unheard of. So yeah, I contacted ViewSonic and they denied it. They don't know anything about it. So I mean, I ain't gonna argue with them. I mean, it's fantastic that it has it in there, because that means at the end of the day, instead of you going out and spending a lot of money for this projector, which would have cost you a lot of money, and those were always in fully lit environment when we do these demonstrations. But anyway, yeah, instead of spending a lot of money for these particular projectors, these projectors are now super cheap, and that's how we're able to now build our screens now at 235.1. So again, if you've never built one of these before, this is going to come up a lot, especially with companies. They kind of favor these screens. They use a lot of edge blending and mapping technology to put these screens together, and 235.1s are good for this. So you have to know how to build this. So from what I've seen other people's sites, when we go through your sites, what do we see? 16.9, 16.9, 16.9, 16.9, maybe a 4.3 in there. You don't need to do 1.1. 1.1 is for 35 millimeter. You don't know anything about that. So you technically don't know anything about your product, or the screen sizes that you're building, or the type of projectors. Some of you talk about venues. You don't know the first thing about a venue projector at all. It's a lot of information on venues you don't know. So if you're talking about venue, you have to know the projector venue itself. And on top of that, you have to know the repair process of a venue. Very important that you know how to maintenance these machines when it comes to venues. Got to know this stuff. But anyway, this is all us. We're the only ones who did that many 235.1s. This is a 138 inch. I got this from Silver Ticket. Silver Ticket is the best place to go to get a 235.1 fixed frame if you do not know how to build it. But mind you, they do have some special sizes with their selection. But if you're going to do customization, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to do that yourself. But this is something you have to know about, because again, you have to build all types of 235.1s. Now, how do we come to the conclusion that the 235.1 on the Silver Ticket's the best? It's the peg system that it has with it. So basically, it's very easy. Now, if you built enough fixed frame projection screens, you literally should know this information. Again, as I said before, individuals who claim they know projection, I've asked some questions about fixed frame screens, and they can't tell me hazard points. They can't tell me the pros and cons of a fixed frame screen, because they haven't bought a lot of them. They probably bought one, and that's it. That's all they know. So they don't know that certain size. We'll go into a whole topic on fixed frames, because this is stuff you should know. You have to know all this stuff. You have to. Anytime you're buying one of these things, there's stuff you have to know about these screens. But the 235.1 setup on these, the rails on here that feed through the sleeves of the actual screen are freaking huge. We're talking about 15 feet of freaking rail going through this thing. So it's important that when you're feeding this through, you want something that's going to be easy to put through. If the holes are too big, that means this thing's going to pop up, go back in, pop up, go back in. That's one of the problems I had with this screen right here, is that they made the holes a little too big, and as I'm sliding it through, it kept popping up. I had to go over and put it back in. It's a little bit of a headache, but again, this screens are much cheaper and it's worth it. The peg system over a spring system. Spring system's a nightmare. Depends on who you go with. It could be a nightmare, or it could be a walk in the park. Elite screens, the spring system for them, they make the screens large enough so that way when you connect them, really, I've never had to use tools with Elite screens, never had to. But they connect perfectly under the frame. Some of them, they make the springs too short, and that means you have to go and turn into the Incredible Hulk in order to stretch those over to get those to work. So the spring system is not good at all. It's really not good at all. I wonder if I can upload I'm going to upload my live stream over to the other sites, because that helped them out too. I want to be able to share this with other people. So basically, when you put the spring systems are too short, that means that they're really going to have a hard time connecting all the way around the frame due to the fact, like I said, trying to get them to connect here, here, and here, it's going to be a bit of a headache. That's why when people do a spring system, you might get your corners here and here, but when it gets to the last little bit, you have to pull so hard just to get it connected. They made the springs too short. Elite didn't do that. I don't know how they did that with their springs. It's you don't need tools to do it, but it fits tight as a glove. That's freaking amazing work right there. So that's why I like Elite screens, fixed frames. But anyway, the Silver Ticket has a peg system, which is better. The pegs you slide on in a rail system, and you just take the support rail, put it in, and you connect it over the rail, and it locks in place. Very easy. Best system. I like the peg systems are much better. But that's a 235.1 and a Silver Ticket that I put together right there, and course coded with our technology, and we're using our short throw projector ViewSonic. So I can go in here and check out all my stuff in here, as I usually do. This is what I'm talking about. See right here? Window light. Being able to operate your screen in window light. We've been doing that for years. Being able to operate a screen in a fully lit environment. That's the way your screens are supposed to be done. That's how you're supposed to be doing it. But everybody's in that dark environment at the end of the day. Alright, let's come over here. And let's get another one. So this is us again, 235.1. This is us again, 235.1. See the Silver Ticket 235.1 screen? That's a nice screen right there, by the way. 235.1 again. When you're doing these demonstrations, I can't express this enough. You're not supposed to be in the dark. You have to be in a fully lit environment. Customer needs to know that the screen is going to operate in a fully lit environment. So when you do that fake lighting, ambient light dodging, you cheat the customer. The customer's going to turn those lights on, and they're going to find out he or she the screen's not going to work because the paint doesn't work. That's why it says no point. Then the ViewSonic right there. There's no point in. Oh, that's a 4K model. That's a 4K. That's a 4K projector right there. Yeah, it's a 4K. But anyway, there's no point in basically building any type of screen if you can't get the product to work. Another ViewSonic. ViewSonic's the only ones we saw had the 235.1. This is a 158-inch black screen. Gaming off of it. Like I said, not all games are going to be 235.1, and I found a few of them that did do it. Probably more now today. But you have to have that experience level in there. You have to. So customers, like I said, we know we have experience in building 235.1s because that's what we've done. I've done dozens of my friends with the build one in here. And, they have to know what they're talking about. And this is a big screen. This is a wide screen. So this is a screen that's going to be affected by a lot of light in the environment. It's going to take on a lot of light. It's a very big screen. So, you have to make sure what kind of paint you're using, you have to make sure that it's going to be able to withstand all the light because it's going to collect a lot of light. A lot of light is going to collect. There's the ViewSonic right there we purchased. The ViewSonic saved us a lot of money because again, that would have been super expensive if we did that with any other projector. Now, for people saying, well, gray and white, no. A 235.1, as I said before, collects a lot of light in the environment. It's a wide screen. It's not going to miss anything in that environment. So unless you're going to be in a super dark environment with that screen trying to get to work, that's pretty much where you're going to be stuck at. And that means your colors and all that stuff are going to have problems. It's going to be dark. It's not even worth it. Now, if some people sit there and say, well, it's a screen designed for a dedicated theater room. We've done dedicated theater rooms before. Gray and white screens don't function in dedicated theater rooms. They have problems in there. They don't pick up their contrast levels correctly. You can't work. No matter what screen you choose, size, whatever, 16, 10, 16, I don't care what it is. You can't use it with a gray screen. It can't read. It won't read in the environment. That's the problem you're going to have. The first thing that's going to go is your contrast level, and that's what you need the most. You literally need that contrast level. It's extremely important. It's a must you have it. That's why you see a lot of demonstrations like that, stuck in the dark, with some Christmas tree lights stuck behind the back of it saying, hey, look, we're picking up a 235. No one wants to be stuck in that environment all day long. I don't even want to be stuck in the dark all day long. 235.1, 235.1, that's the 600 by 800 we got right there. So, the G-Sonic is the best projector if you're doing a 235.1 setup. Like I said, in here, our screen size is roughly going to be 10 feet by 5 feet, which gives me a 235.1 setting. But if I want to go at 120 inch, I got a good size 120 inch, maybe 135 in there. But no, it'd be 120 inch. Because 120 inch is going to be 5 feet. So you got to go by that length. So 5 feet by 10 feet, that's perfect. On top of that, when you're doing 235.1, you can do multi-projector setups, which is actually cool to do. I love doing multi-projector setups. So that's something else I want to do in here too also. But yeah, you got to put a bigger screen in. And I want to do something lightweight and super sufficient, and that's what I'm going to go with right there. Let me get back over here real quick, because that's where I'm at. Alright. So yeah, let me see. If I'm doing... So it's 10 feet. That's when it's 10 feet. So it's 120. It's 10 feet. The surface we have is now. We were going to get a surface that was going to be 60 by 120. But now the surface we have now is 70 by 159. Which means we have a lot more room. And the surface I'm going to use to paint over is pretty much easy to do. It's a tablecloth. We've done bed sheets and all that stuff. That's why I showed you the video yesterday. Because we get people come in, don't crack books, don't educate themselves on what we do. And they say, oh, you can't do a bed sheet. Oh, okay, whatever. Anyway, so we're going to do... I said, what is that? What is that over there? What are you doing? I'm over there. I'm near his bed right now, this giant surface. So we're going to do... I'm going to do 119. I do want enough fabric to actually fold behind the back of the screen and staple it down. So 119 is what we're going to need. 119. But what is that surface, man? That's the measuring tape, Taco Bird. Taco Bird is the word. Taco Bird. All right, so 120 inch. No, 119, 119, 119. 119. I can't wait to get my screen put in. That tablecloth surface is going to be perfect. Now, this time I went with something a little different. I got a tablecloth surface that's weather resistant. Why? Because it means we don't have to do a multi-application to keep the surface from soaking more or less. If you don't basically coat your screens, what's going to happen is you're going to get something, a blotty look to it. I've seen that with people who basically try to call themselves painting over fabric. When your light hits your screen, you can see that blotted look to it. Some's lighter, some heavier. That's because you went over with a roller. You didn't do it correctly. And when you sprayed it, you still can get blottiness. So what you want to do is, you want to coat the surface, the fabric first, with a form of paint. Any paint doesn't make a difference. You're just trying to get to absorb, that's all. One coat, two coat, you're done. Now, no more paint can absorb. You use less paint when you apply our application. We did dozens of screens that way. But this one's different. We don't have to worry about any absorption because the screen's weatherproof. That means anything that lands on top of it rolls right off of it, which is fantastic. That means we can just spray coat over this one time, done, just like that. That's why we chose the weatherproof tablecloths. Let me see. So we're going to roughly do 19. Where are we going up? 19. That gives me 129 inch, but we're going to get bigger than 129 inch because we're going to use the zoom process to do that one. That's how you get a bigger screen using the zoom. That's what it's for. I learned how to use the zoom. All right, so my screen's going to be roughly. We need 119. No. I forgot my surface is huge. I'm not at that range. I'm way over that now. I can go my 120 inch. I just got to keep it here. This is where we got to watch here. So 50 inches. We don't have to really care about the top anymore because we got that large surface now. So we want 5 feet from my screen. I need 60. All right. So I'm worried about this right here. I don't care about that because we got the length for all that. And we got the surface to cover that too. So 60. There we go. That's all we need. Because for us it's different because we have a huge length from one end to the next. 235.1s, you're going to have enough length. We've got about 10 feet, almost 12 feet of wall over there. So we have enough to do it. So my screen is going to be roughly 153 inch at 235.1. It's going to be massive. Gigantic. No panels. We don't need them. The panels were used for the time being because, again, like I said, I couldn't figure out who could have did that. Yeah. And like I said, all good things. When the Lord bless you, can say, I'm going to get that idea sooner. But, Lord does everything in due time. Everything's done in due time. It's a learning experience in life. But anyway, yeah, the surface we have, ultra thin frame. Frame's going to cost me about $9 to put together. And the surface is about $22. That's it. I'm not paying anything. My projector is under $200. And I'll still be to come on here. Oh, it's got the gamer paint on it. And you know what's going to happen with that gamer paint to that screen. That's pretty much it. That is it. And then over here, we're going to start putting a transparent sun technology. I want it so I can disconnect it because I want to do demonstrations like, I don't want to be inside anymore. Let's go outside and take one of the pieces and take it off and walk outside with it, which we know you guys can't do. None of y'all can do it. I had somebody right there, right in the YouTube description talking about direct sunlight, bro. You don't research me, do you? This is where people, I tell you, you got to research us because we have these demonstrations of walking out in the sun. When you do that, we tell you to think before you write because we will make it so that it stays there. You're going to try to go and delete your comment because you got embarrassed. Well, leave it there. And you ain't removing that. Don't block you. You can't remove it. It's stuck there. You can't take it off. Only the original account holder can remove it. That's how we make sure your comment stays there. With a block on, you can't remove it. You have to have the original account to remove a comment. Other than that, it stays there. So we just leave it there. And then at the bottom, we just put our information like, here you go. You can't respond on it either. It's right there. You made the statement. Be careful what you say. There's no point in listening to the comment. If we told you at the end of the day that the sky is orange, and the sky is orange, and you want to tell us it's purple at the end of the day, and we say, no, the sky is orange, and we prove to you that the sky is orange, what's the point of listening to what you got to say if it's going to be negative? It was negative to begin with. It will end with negativity because people don't like it when they're proven wrong on something. Therefore, they have to come with insults, and I do not have time to entertain it, so I block you. So we just leave you there frozen in time for everyone to read that. You can't do that, and show you a demonstration that we can. My goodness, this is why I explain. Crack the book. Crack the book. Come on, man. You learn stuff when you do stuff like that. Full glass. Going through life full glass, you will learn nothing in life. Always full glass, people. These people are always full glass. So this is how you do it. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And he wants to sit there and say, well, hey, I just showed you a whole bunch of 235.1s. You can go to my channel and type in 235.1. And if you go to YouTube, you ain't got to mention my company's name. Type in 235.1. Guess who comes up first? It'll be us. We built the most. So they're going to tell you that they have experience in the field. I can go to your site right now and I can ask you, can you build me a 235.1 customization? You don't even know what I'm saying at the end of the day. You'll be in there Googling trying to figure out what I just said. What about 1610? You show me 1610 setup? I can show you what a 35 millimeter black and white reel to reel won't read on your screen. You know why? Because black and white movies don't work on gray screens. Technically, they are showed on white screens first, but they actually don't read on white screens either. Why? Because they can't read 100% black. Did anybody figure that out at the end of the day? Yeah, you can't watch a black and white movie on a freaking white screen, but that's how it started. The silver screen started with white screens because they didn't have black technology. When they thought they were reading black and white, they're reading gray and white. That's what they're reading. You can't pick up black on a white screen. So that means that particular era at that time, and they called them black and white movies, the movies were in black and white. The problem was once they let the projector hit the screen, they were no longer black, they were gray. Which means you were watching gray and white, not black and white. Now that you have black technology, you're actually reading black and white. See how we altered and changed history just like that? See if your screen print can do that at the end of the day. Can it alter and change things? It can't do that. The screen print doesn't alter and change. The screen print basically, it degrades products. It does. There's no way in the world you're picking up black on that thing. So it is what it is. I'm going to be launching this video we have here is going to be going to multiple sites. I'm going to start uploading my live videos to other sites because we want to do a lot of educational videos on helping people. But I also want to warn about people who don't know what they're talking about. And they don't. Now, these gurus out here, they know what they're talking about. They do 235.1s. They review 235.1s. Like I've been to a couple of their sites just to watch the 235.1s so I can see what I was getting into. So I was watching their stuff at the end of the day. See, never full glass. Because these guys were doing these reviews. I was like, huh, interesting. You know, I was learning stuff from them. So they know what they're talking about. But some of these other people that have gone to your site and asked you questions, you don't even know what a 235.1 is, on how to build one, how to set one up. Because you never built one. I go to your channel, there's nothing there. I asked you about a 1610. You think 16:9 is widescreen. Amateur, 16:9 is not widescreen. It says it's widescreen, but it's not. Actual widescreen is 1610. If you had enough venue projectors, you would have noticed that. Because you go to a venue projector, whether it be the Christie LW505, that projector clearly at the top of this, where it says aspect ratio, will say widescreen 1610. Now, true dedicated widescreen, it'll be 239, 235, and so forth. But the other ones that have in that particular aspect ratio, there's a bunch of them besides the ones I just mentioned. They're true widescreen. That's true dedicated setup. Because you can't find every movie that's going to run off that particular screen. That's why it's called a true dedicated setup. Yeah. Then there's different types of dedicated theater rooms. You have the theater rooms that are just a theater room, which you just have the projector so everybody can see it and behind the back of you. Or you have the one that's in the booth. Now the one that's in the booth is different. The one in the booth is probably a little farther back. Roughly, because it has to be back behind the seating, that means it roughly would be roughly maybe about this. Then you have to consider the size of the screen. So you're talking about maybe roughly, you could be 20 feet back on that. So you're 20 feet back. How do you fix, what kind of projector and lens would be required in a dedicated theater room sitting back 20 feet? They can't tell me this, because if I ask them the question, they don't know. They'll pick a standard throw lens. You know what a standard throw lens will do at 20 feet back? It would expand over the screen size. So your screen size is 100 inches on the wall. Your projector's sitting back 20 feet. What type of lens would you need to fix that issue? You don't know. Because if you knew, you would explain in a video, which we did multiple times, why a standard throw zoom lens are very important for those particular applications. I got one here sitting on the floor right now. It's a different type of lens. What's the difference between a Christie LX and LW projector? They look exactly the same. Or the Sony FH31, 32, or 30. What's the difference between those projectors? They look exactly the same. All of them do. What's the difference between the two? How do you know if a person is showing a projector if the lens was actually removed? Now, two things will go missing out of venues. Two things will go missing out of venues will be either the lamp, because the lamps are very expensive, which means you get more money for a lamp than the actual projector's worth, or the lens could go missing because the lens is actually worth more than the actual projector itself. So how do you know if the lamp's missing? Because there's also a key feature to look at that you can tell that a lamp was removed. Or, sorry, not lamp removed, lens was removed. Can't tell you that, can they? And they ever explain that to you? That's why I asked them about the venue projector in the ceiling. What model was it? You couldn't even tell me. You should know. You just ask the person right there what model. You didn't understand what it was. So you were buying screen paint from people who did not know the equipment. So if you don't know the equipment, you don't know the different types of screen sizes or distance throws or what type of machines that are used in different types of environments, how are you selling screen paint? See, this is the kind of stuff we want to ask people when in that particular environment where we have to take people at for question them. These are the questions we want to ask. Now, for those of you who took our rear projection technology, oh my goodness, you have no idea what kind of lines cage you stepped into with that one. There's a number of questions I can ask with rear projection technology. The type of shade of screen. What type of projector would be used for the different types of shades of screens in rear projection technology? What do you use for an ultra short throw? Is there a certain type of screen used for an ultra short throw? If you have a screen that's sitting, so you don't have the distance throws. When you look at a person's environment, maybe they don't have the distance throws. Maybe they do have the distance throws. If they had the distance throws, say they got an extra 20 feet before they hit the window. What type of projector would you use for that environment? I'm not going to tell you. You should know it right at the bottom of the comment section. I'm going to leave the comment open here. Right at the bottom of the comment. Tell me. Do tell me what you need. I'll put a list right there. I'm going to put a list of questions and see if people can answer them. Other than that, you don't know your stuff. Not everything, when you do, if you think at the end of the day that every screen you're going to run across is going to be 16:9, you're an amateur. You're definitely an amateur. You're going to run across all different types of screens. What about customizations? Do you know how to operate Projector Central? You have to be able to operate the distance of the projector, the height, the length of the screen. Some people measure the screen this way. If you see anybody measuring the screen this way, they don't know what they're talking about. Screens are measured diagonally across, just like TVs. Now, as for what the other fellow was saying at the end of the day, that the gain, you mentioned us and gain at the same time? Really? Seriously? When he sat there and said that, well, he doesn't even use the gain. We don't use the gain calculator. What we need it for? We play outside. An environment said that the gain calculator doesn't even read in here. As a matter of fact, we have a machine to measure light. We don't even use it. We can't use it. It doesn't read in here. It doesn't read outside. So that meter they have inside it that picks up a number, that thing doesn't work for us anymore. Because the environments we sit in, that thing would never read in here. 24,000 strike? No, it doesn't work in here. Outside? No, it ain't working in here. Let me clear up something real quick on here. Let me see. Let's go back to, this is our 235.1. Now, I didn't put my company's name in. Nothing. Only thing I put, we built so many of these. This is all I put in. This is all I put in right here. So anytime a company says, okay, we need a 235.1 setup, and they hit this, bum, 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 235.1 projection screen, bum, bum, bum. There you go. That's us. We built a 235.1 right there. We're in that category. We have built so many of these screens, it's not even funny. 235.1. So that's why when they look at my company, we're the only ones that come up. When they look for certain size customization screens, outdoor screens, all type, it's us that comes up on it. That stuff, because we built all that stuff. And while we're building it, we're educating, showing people how to do it. See right here? Look at this. We told you about the VSonic projectors. Why those projectors are cheaper. We even did the cat's eye lens with the projector, which is a fisheye lens with the camera. We did all that stuff. Built curved screen projection screens to show you how to build those. They don't teach you how to build curves. Any of them got curved screens on their accounts? No, they have any curved screens on their accounts. That's the biggest screen ever built. That's a 178-inch 235.1. The projectors cost us a lot of money? No, they never do. We don't spend a lot of money for projectors. The frick am I spending all that money for projectors for? Gray screen. Every time I see a gray screen, I start laughing. Because I know exactly what they do. Look, oh, this. We're going to have to talk about the gray screen again. This is so such a fail. This is so... Gray screens are only going to work on ultra short throws. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay, this is a perfect example what I told you about why white screens and gray screens don't work at 235.1. So if you look at his environment, you'll notice that it's dark. Of course, he has to dim all the lights in there because that screen's not going to be able to read at all, period. That's why the lights are dim. Look how close his projector is. He's in a very dim environment. Now, see right there? These bars at the top, these bars are supposed to be in black. The sad thing about it is because so many people are so used to using gray and white screens or gray screens to improve, they just accept it. But those are supposed to be black. Now, if you do it in 16:9 format, what's going to happen is these are going to pop up. Now, if you're doing it actually 235.1, you won't even see this because you just see your black frame. That's basically about it. So I had to look through a lot of these videos to understand and educate myself at 235.1 what it was all about before I actually dipped in that field. But you will have companies contact you about these screens. Now, see right here? See with the outside of the screen? See right here? No, see right here? See with the outside of it? See how it comes up in white? See, if you were to take your 235.1, so you want to shrink it, right? So you want to do 120 inch in the middle of that, so you can game off of it because you have a 235.1. That means you're going to see areas here, here, and here are going to show up on your screen, and they're going to come up in gray. We call it the zebra mode, which means that see your black frame, you're going to have the black frame around your screen, but then you're going to turn around and have this tacky gray around it. You're going to have this tacky white around it. Our technology doesn't have that problem because our technology is black. And because it's black, that means that you will not be able to see any form of border effect around the screen due to the fact that the screen blends in because it's black. Other than that, nice video by the guy who just did the video. But actually, I think I watched his when he was explaining the whole 235.1. I learned a lot of stuff from his channel. Because I had to come here and watch these people who were doing this and saying, hey, this is how this is done. This is pretty cool. And learn about 235.1 setups. Another dark environment. Look, I don't get this dark environment nonsense, man. These environments are so dark. So dark. See, look at it. Look at the comparison in light. When you have, one of the things you have, those who were condensed lighting, see that? See my screen right here? See how the lighting is making contact with the screen at all time? You got lights halfway in the middle of the screen. You got lights way over here. Now, look, we're hitting the screen. You're not hitting jack. Those lights are supposed to be directly on top of the screen. Oh, man, we got so much stuff to talk about. So much talk. So I'm going to be sharing my live demonstrations on how to and educating you guys to help you out. We're going to be sharing this on our other social media sites. And that's why I said that you have to ask these questions because, again, those you might run into a 235.1. You might want to build one of these setups within the day. This right here shows you what we're doing at, when you do it, sorry. So basically, I'm looking at this right here. And I can see I'm doing it in a 16:9 format. So there's a projector right here. Here we go. Yeah. So this is what happens if you do a 235.1, as I told you before, in a 16:9 format. Now, you'll get the bars here. They'll be on the side here and here. That's what you're getting right there and there. So this is important that this screen is black. So that way, it blends in better. But if you're trying to watch any movie or sports, mind if this screen was gray. How horrible it would come up looking. This is what happens when you take a 235.1 and you put in a 16:9 into it. That's what the images that you can pick up. So that's why I said we do all this stuff at the end of the day to make sure that you're getting the best out of your setup. But if a person doesn't know what they're talking about, you're not going to get anything out of that but a headache. Nothing but a headache. They don't have any videos. You go check their accounts, there's nothing on this stuff at all. They never built any screens. First things first, you got to have the room for one of these things. And the other one doesn't have the room. The other one who set up his theater room, which you don't see anymore online, but he set up his theater room, he set it up to fit a certain type of screen. If you notice, it's set up to fit a 100-inch or 120-inch screen. It was never designed for 235.1. When we do setups, those screens are designed to accommodate multiple size screens. We can change them out at will because the environments are designed for it. We don't basically just alienate an entire environment so we can fit a certain type of screen in there so we can tuck it up under a lip. And that's another thing too. See how my condensed lighting, this is one thing I loved about this property. The condensed lighting is right under the lip. So whoever did this put the condensed lighting under the lip, which means if we put the screen there, it's going to be hit regardless. That's what I loved about it. They didn't stick it way out here, away from the screen, and that's what people do when they design their home theater room setups, which is going to be a nice conversation. I'm pointing out where is the actual light in the environment. They'll go in and they'll put the lighting here, and they'll put the screen underneath the lip, which means when the light comes down, it's not going to make contact. This is sitting underneath a cliff. That's how they do it. And then the individual lights around the environment, They put a custom design here. They'll put that same design here and put a light between it, here and put a light between it. So there's two walls on each side between each light on each side, which means that light's not making any contact anywhere. It's going up, it's going down, and if it goes from side to side, it's blocked by two walls at the same time. Man, we know all those tricks, man. I know all those little tricks that people use. And that's what you have to be careful about. You have to watch the demonstration very, very carefully. So that way you get it home, you find out your screen actually gets hit with that light and washes out. But if you're doing a 235.1 customization, you have to know what you're talking about when it comes to a screen that way. Have to. This is right out of the box. This is the Eclipse screen right here, Eclipse technology we did. So you have to know this stuff. So they should be having videos dating back 7 years. Yeah, you have to have videos that date back that far. And they're just showing you something now, that means you don't know anything. They got to date back. See? 7 years. You got videos that date back farther than that. That shows you we've been building this stuff for a long time. My videos everybody's videos are time stamped. So if you're just seeing something pop up, like, what, you're just showing this now? You should have been had this. It should have been done. You should have been had that stuff. This is very important you had those done. All right. I like this whole setup right here. I'm going to look at this video right here. This has got some loft music on it. I like that coffee shop design to it. We're done here with this video. And like I said, these videos are designed so that way you're going to do these little segments. They're designed to teach you and educate you. I want to change out the name. I want it to be more shorter for the other site because we're still working on it. We turn it into an educational site. And this will give you an idea of different types of stuff you want to build, put together, different types of LED lights, stuff like that. We got a setup on there called trash projectors. We'll be testing a lot of the so-called projectors that claim to do this and do that and the other. And also, too, on top of there, we're going to put something on there called fraudulent paints. The fraudulent paints, these are people that we are taking to court. We are taking them to court. We're not going to do this whole YouTube back and forth. We're going to address your company. We're going to ask you some questions. You should know this stuff at the end of the day. And if you can't basically back it up, then we'll have to address it. You remove it or change it. That's what you should be doing. If you don't back it up, move it or change it. And if you don't want to go from there, then we bring lawyers involved. We go to court. Because that's what you should do. If you're making statements that your product's reading actual black, it's a lie. Because you don't pick up black at all, period. You pick up a shade of gray. I don't know what shade you pick up. That's for you to figure out. You should have tested that stuff before you sold it. But you have to change that. So you'll see court documents on there. You can go through a PDF, print out whatever you want. But there'll be court documents which you can post about what happened in that courtroom with that particular company. And you can read everything from there. Because I think the home theater and projection is out of control. TVs are already out of control. They're very, very expensive for TVs. The TVs are ridiculously expensive. But, people who want to move over to projection, they're getting a delusion, getting an optical illusion. People tell them that gray screens are reading black levels in poor and fully lit environments, and there's a projector, a customer over there who has it watching a soccer game. The screen washed out on it. Yeah, it's a very good projector, an extremely good projector. And then there's these fake projection screen companies out there that want to tell you we're going to get 4,000, 5,000, 15,000, 90,000 lumens, and going to get 8K and 4K. They're nothing but liars on that nonsense. So it's got to be cleaned up because it's out of control. It's way out of control. Customer now can't buy anything without getting ripped off now. So that's what we're going to do. Some of this mess needs to be cleaned up. I like the fact that Epson initiated the charge by challenging Valve projector. Also, that projector called VAKOY, whatever that thing is, they challenged them too, and they lost too against Epson. Epson sued a couple people, and they lost. So, thank you, Epson. Thank you, Epson. If more projection screen companies, name brand companies step in the line and start doing this, we can clean up this mess of these fake projectors at the end of the day. Because these things are plagues. They are. Oh, by the way, for those of you trying to sell black technology, you do know they don't work on darker screens. They don't even read on gunmetals. So if you basically don't have a policy in there that states, or you haven't done the testing, because I've done the testing on these machines, if you haven't done the testing, then you run the risk of getting a chargeback, lawsuit, or a PayPal complaint, because those projectors right there don't read on dark screens. And for anyone that said they do, tell me one time you ever seen Screen Innovation, Elite Screens, Daylight Screens, any one of those companies use any one of those projectors at any expo they've been at. You don't. Because they don't work. That's why. I did all that testing when I had this stuff over here. They don't pick up. So, that's another thing you don't know about black technology. Black technology does not work on fake knockoff machines. That's why I said before you step in the ring with black technology, this is a product that has to be tested. You can't just make this stuff has all kinds of reactions that can go off. If the screen's wet, it can give off a reaction. If it's outside, if it's cold, all kinds of reactions can trigger off on black screens. Different types of projectors, projectors in fully lit environments, projectors in dark environments can react differently on a black surface. You have to have all these tests. If not, you're liable for major lawsuits. That's what's going to happen. And show people to prove the point that this can happen to you. There's 2 companies that we're actually going to be taking to court because we explained to them over and over again they don't have proper testing to sell the screen and they don't believe us. Well, we'll see you in court. That's all to it. Because when I tested on your screen, it didn't do well. It did horribly. And another thing, too, you have to look out for if they're requiring beefy projectors. Beefy projectors. It's a first red flag that you know the screen's having a hard time pulling a white level. That's why we have demonstrations on 1,000 lumens, 300 lumens, 800 lumens, 600 lumens. All those demonstrations we've done. Have to have all that. That's why I tell people be careful. You know who said it. We got you on recording actually making that statement about my company, saying that we require high-end projectors. That's an automatic lawsuit right there. Because again, we own multiple different types of projectors. We own more than most people own for doing testing. Got to know all this stuff. They react differently. Black screens react differently to LCD, LED projectors, DOP. They have some don't react well with that particular type of lamp lighting. So you have to test this stuff. So you need about close to about 5 years of testing to know this stuff. We're way past that. So it can have all types of reaction. I saw it with the other guy's paint, the Series C. I saw it outside multiple times. The screen was coming out way too dark. When you show a city in the background, you're supposed to see an ultra black, but all those little white lights and the cars and the different colors, all that's supposed to push to super bright. Didn't see that. It came out dirty, saturated, as if you look through regular black paint. It's the same reading we're getting back. Environments weren't very well lit. And then if your customers who have the same screen are sitting in darker environments, that's a major red flag because a black screen should never ever sit in a dark environment. Not ever. But the reason why they sit in dark environments, even with some of the high professionals I've seen, I think one company has one, because it's told that black screens do not have the ability to generate high white levels due to the fact that the screen is super dark. It requires a much more higher lumen projector to get the contrast and the white levels to kick higher. And a darker environment would actually give it a promise point for the image to be able to pull instead of being in a well-lit environment which you have to fight even harder to try to get the white levels to read. That's why they're in darker ambient light controlled environments. We can go outside and do that at 300 lumens. That's why if you look at the concept, I think it's a concept by Black Diamond, I think it is, they require 8,000 lumens to read. So when I first contacted them and tried to get a sample sheet, and they told me to do samples, it's only done for companies only anyway, because no customer is going to have 8,000 project on their own. But anyway, they told me it requires, so what's the lumen count to get it to kick? It's 8,000. I said, oh, that told me everything I need to know. Because that means that if it requires 8,000, that means that maybe it doesn't have the capability to pick up on much lower lumen projectors because the white levels could be affected. And since they made it company only, the reason why they made it company only because 8,000 projectors are commercial units. That's why I said at the end of the day that for the people calling themselves knowing venues, do you know the difference between a venue projector and commercial? You don't know the difference between the two. There's different types of venues. They're not all venues. There's different types of category, class of venues. There's commercial. The commercial ones, you can't buy someone to put an 8,000 lumen projector in their home. It's a commercial machine. Do you have any idea what that thing will do for your outlet? It'll burn your outlet out, because I know I had it happen to me. I bought a projector off of eBay. Massive, huge projector. I bought it for eBay. What was that projector called? It was a Chrissy, I can't think of the name of it. It was a Chrissy. I bet you if I pull in Chrissy, I can pull them up. That thing was huge. It had a lens on that thing about the size of a dinner plate. It was huge. But it was commercial. And the guy never stated it was commercial. Now I know what the commercials look like. Live and learn from experience. That's how that one works. That's how you learn. Live and learn from experience. And someone's trying to tell me Christie's not a real projector. Christie's a projector that's used with Disney, movie studios, concerts, all that stuff. It's a very name brand. It's called Top Tier. So when you tell me you don't know what a Christie projector is and you're trying to be rude about it, that means you don't know jack about projectors. There's certain types of projectors called top tier venues, Ronco, Barcode, all those. Those are the big boy machines. The machines that cost you a ton of money. Christie's in that category. Christie projectors. No, correct spelling is Christie. These are Christie's. So Christie's. I'm trying to figure out what mine's at. I had it. I'm going to look it up because I can find it in here. I've bought too many Christie projectors. I found out about Christie projectors to a customer. A customer told me about this projector that he bought. It was a very expensive one too. And he took it to a shop to get it fixed and they stole the machine. I'm like, who the freak steals a projector? Who shuts down a shop and steals a machine? Apparently this projector was worth $250,000. It's a very expensive machine. And they took it. Now it wasn't like a high-end shop. You know what I mean? It's like a little mom and pop's kind of setup. I'm not saying you go to any mom. It's probably that particular store did that. But I was like, who the freak sells a projector? What is a Christie? And he educated me what Christie's were. And that's how I finally got one day. And yeah, he was not joking. That is an amazing projector. That's why we have them here. I love Christie's. Let me see. Let me go over to, count here. Let's go back here. I'm going to count. There we go. Let me see. And this is venue. Let's see if I find it. All right. There we go. Now that's a Christie LX. Now that's an LW650 Christie. The LW420s are for 1080p. There it is. Found it. Where are you? I know I've seen the picture. Why would you take a picture and not have the image of it? Sometimes I wonder about myself. Oh, here it is right here. So it's an LW 400. Here it is right there. So that right there, projector right there, that's a commercial. You have to know what you're doing when you're buying venues. So, you know, you have to know that you make sure you don't get a commercial in versus a non-commercial. Because a non-commercial projector, you might not go through the issue of having your electrical outlets taken out. Because that thing will definitely take out your outlets. Be very careful, make sure you know what you're buying. And that's what happened to me. That's how I figured out. I had to figure this out through experience. I went there and got this projector, ordered it, got it over, and then found out that it was freaking commercial. I'm like, oh shoot. Because basically it almost took out my electrical system in the house. That's it right there. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to buy quite a lot of venues to know what you're doing. You can't just have one venue. And keep in mind the what's it called? The NEC 1150. They're not venue projectors. They're not. That's not a venue projector. Some people say they're venues. You know, they're not venues. It's a different. It does have the ability to be able to remove the lens and put another lens on it, which is actually fantastic too. Because some of these projectors don't have that capability to be able to remove the lens and put another lens on it. You know what I mean? That's another whole other story by itself I can talk about. But we can't put it on here. On basically lenses on projectors and what's removable, what's not removable, stuff like that. You know, we'll talk about it another time. But as you can see, yeah, that's the size of the projector we have right there. Now, the difference between that projector and any other type of venue projectors, those are commercial. So the projectors that they're using for in the 8,000 lumen projector. An 8,000 lumen projector is definitely commercial. That's definitely a commercial machine. That one. That one. Here, 1 minute. Hold on a minute, people. I'm trying to figure out where I put this at. I'm doing two things at the same time. That's what I'm doing. Two things at the same time. But that one over there was roughly, I would say, I can't remember the lumen count. I know it was like 7,000 lumens. But it was definitely not running in that house at all, period. And it did have an issue. So I did have an issue with the projector almost taking out the entire fuse box. Because it literally generated that much power. But now with the technology we have today, we don't even require to have any of that stuff anyway. Our machines are lightweight, they're small. And the setup that we have now here, we have these little tiny projectors we can take anywhere we want. That's why I had stacks and stacks and stacks of these projectors. Now we don't use them anymore because the technology we have, we advanced way past all of that now. That's not even required anymore. So we were blessed to be able to get our black technology to be able to run off a projectors of much lower caliber. But anyway, that's basically about it. I gotta upload this video to my other pages because again, I want to do more of these demonstrations, you know. And again, as with a customer, you know, don't believe everything you hear on these forum sites. You got to do this research yourself. You got to look around. You got to. We got an information site we're going to be putting up pretty soon. It'll give you a lot of information, how to shop on eBay, what to look for. I bought tons of projectors off eBay, how to fight claims, all that stuff. We got so much on there. I think we're going to transfer the knockoff projectors. We're going to transfer that also to some of them from the blacklist over to the fake projector list over there. So I got to get working on that too, on that site too, on top of that. So that's going to be turned into an information site to give you all kinds of information on how to build, set up, levitating. When we're done with the screen here, we're going to make it self-levitating once we get the frame built on that. That's going to be an interesting build. And that whole thing comes apart. Mind you, all this stuff we make comes apart. So you don't have to worry about carrying any big bulky parts or nothing like that. I don't want to carry around giant bulky parts. And it'll be easy to do. I think we might do a prototype. I'm going to do a prototype levitating screen for the portable projector we have here. We'll build one of those. We're going to do the whole thing out of wood, so it's going to be pretty cool. Because I got some of that fabric that's going to be left over. I got a lot of going to be left over. I'm going to take some of that and build me a nice little levitating screen for my whatchamacallit, for my can't think of the name of it now. For my QME2 projector, I'm going to portable levitating screen. Oh, that would be freaking cool. Portable levitating screen. That would be pretty cool to put in. All right, we got to build one of those. Portable levitating screen. We'll put that in the how-to page on how to build. Now, it's just a prototype to show you how to build bigger ones. But we're going to build a smaller one. I'm going to show you how to levitate. Once we get the screen finished in here, I'm going to hang it up to the wall. For the time being, we're going to take it down and put it into a levitation stage. It's floating. It's going to be a sick-looking design. All right, got to go. Hope you enjoyed the video demonstration. Try to educate you as much as you possibly can. As I said before, go to the YouTube channel. Go to people's YouTube channels and type in and see if they have it there. If there's nothing there, it tells you at the end of the day what you're getting yourself into, and this is why you come to us. Thank you for your time. I had to go. And of course, we thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for blessing us with amazing product and amazing knowledge. Got to add that knowledge in there because again, without God, we wouldn't be able to do any of this stuff. Without Him, none of this would ever be possible. All right. Got to go. Thank you for your time and God bless. I'll put this onto my Facebook page.